When you read a scene and are left with an emotion that lingers with you for days, you've been impacted by the mood of that scene. Although mood isn't the only form of emotion in a story, it plays a large part in whether or not that scene and overall story will linger with your readers. So today I want to talk about how to set the mood in creative writing. This is Ignited Ink Writing, a channel dedicated to helping authors like you transform your writing so it lingers with your readers. Because writing that lingers gets remembered and recommended to others. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. Let's start by defining mood. Mood is the emotional atmosphere of a scene. It's the way that setting, story, or scene makes your readers feel. Mood can be the difference between a successful scene and an unsuccessful one. An unsuccessful scene might have no emotional content. It might be unintentionally bland because the author didn't put in the effort to create a mood. A successful scene is one that leaves an emotional impression on the reader. Here's an example of the beginning of a scene written with and without mood. This is from my upcoming modern fairy tale collection. A woman called out to me in my dreams. "Come," she said. "Come," she begged. Verses. The melodic call seeped into my dreams like smoke beneath a door and wrapped its tendrils around my will. "Come," she said. "Come," she begged. Which of the paragraphs did you find more interesting? Which one made you feel something? Likely it was the second one, because that one has more emotionally charged words. It's conveying a mood. In the first scene, the reader doesn't know how they're supposed to react to this voice. Because there's no mood, they don't know if they should be worried for the woman, afraid of her, or what. In the second version, because the voice is somewhat intrusive, it's uninvited, readers know that they should be a little creeped out by this voice. They should be worried for the person who is dreaming. This is showing readers how they should feel in the moment. It's creating an emotion. Mood can be any emotion, and it can vary from scene to scene or moment to moment. But you should be able to articulate what the mood is in each of your scenes. You should be able to say, in this scene, my readers should feel creeped out. They should feel a sense of foreboding. Or my readers should feel joyous, or worried and anxious. You should be able to articulate what emotion you are trying to convey in that moment. This will help you know which words to use and how to describe things to create the mood that's going to linger with your readers. Next, I want to share how to create mood. One of the most impactful ways to infuse a scene with mood is through your descriptions. How you describe something is going to reveal how you and your characters feel about those things. That feeling is going to contribute to the mood of your story. So here are two different ways an author could describe a vase of flowers to create different moods. The dusty vase of roses smelled like dank mildew and only had an inch of grimy water at its bottom. The flowers themselves were more wilted stem than petal, and rustled every time Rebecca bumped the table with her fidgeting. Verses. The medley of tulips reached toward the sunlight streaming in from the open window. Their healthy blooms and recent watering filled the room with a fresh scent that made Rebecca smile. Like clear ocean waters, the blue vase sparkled. In the first version, the mood is dark and hopeless. In the second version, the mood is light and hopeful. How the author chooses to describe the vase is going to determine how the reader feels about that vase and the situation. Similarly, you can create mood through character reactions. How your character reacts to an event is going to show how they feel about that event, and it's going to imply how the reader should feel as well. In the earlier example with the person sleeping and hearing a voice in their dreams, if the very next sentence is the character waking up in a cold sweat, readers know that the character is afraid and that they should be afraid for that character too. But if the character wakes up and instead starts crying, The reader knows that this voice comes from someone they've lost, someone they miss. How your characters react to the moment is going to show their emotions and build mood. Another piece of mood is tone. Tone is the way you approach your story, the way you approach your writing. And this is going to be slightly affected by your own personal biases. If you're the type of person who loves flowers, you're probably going to write a flower scene like the second one, where flowers are a happy thing. They convey a happy emotion. But if you're someone who's had a negative experience with flowers, you might write the first version of the flower scene, where they're decaying and grimy. So your own approach to these scenes is going to impact the emotion and how your reader feels about them. It's going to impact your mood. Now, what all three of these have in common, your descriptions, your character reactions, and your tone, is word choice. Mood often can come down to which words you choose to use to describe your story. So make sure you choose your words carefully. For example, the voice seeping beneath the door created a feeling of inescapability and foreboding because it was seeping. The door couldn't keep it out. But if I said that the voice blasted through the door, that's a different type of the door not working as a barrier. Instead, that blasting conveys anger and frustration and violence. That's how word choice can affect your mood, the emotion your reader feels. Next, I want to discuss ever-changing mood. While tone is kind of like the overall emotion of your story and should remain consistent, mood should change from scene to scene. This is why I refer to mood more often in the context of a scene instead of a whole story. Mood really does change from scene to scene and moment to moment, so it's difficult to nail down the mood for a whole story. It changes, and it should. Your readers don't want to feel one emotion for a whole book. That can become tedious. Instead, they want to experience a variety of emotions. Many writing courses talk about the two primary story arcs, your plot arc and your character arc. But there's a third arc that's equally as important. This is the emotional arc, the emotional journey you're taking your readers on. Mood is a major part of this third arc. In order to have moments of action and rest, of character mistakes and growth, you have to have different moods. Mood can change in the middle of a scene as well as from scene to scene. If your character has been struggling to get out of a dark, ominous forest, then they emerge in a clearing, you might want to switch from that dark, ominous mood to a mood of joyous relief. The different moods of your story allow you to take your readers on an emotional journey, as well as one filled with plot and character arcs. You can't do this if you're hitting the same emotion over and over again without any breaks. Use your mood to reflect what's happening in your story, to show the changes in your plot and characters, to allow your readers to feel different emotions throughout the course of your book. Next, I want to share why an editor recommends choosing words for mood. Emotion is what makes your story linger with readers. It's what strums their heartstrings, makes their hearts pound, or haunts them. When your story lingers with readers is when they continue to feel and think about that emotion long after they've finished your piece. And that's when they start to refer it to people they know. That's when they say, hey, I read this great book, I'm still thinking about it, you have to try it. And that's what most of us authors want. So pay attention to your mood, the emotion of each scene, to help you create this lingering emotional quality. Also, mood isn't something you should be worried about when you're drafting. This is something you look at during revision. After you've gotten your scenes where you like them, and you've cut all of the chapters that weren't necessary and added the ones that you needed to, then you're going to take the time to look at the mood of each individual scene, to look at your word choice, your sentence structure, what you're describing and how your characters are reacting. An excellent tool to help you when you're revising for mood is a synonym finder. This is a dictionary, but instead of definitions, it lists all of the synonyms to the words you look up. I prefer a synonym dictionary and recommend it over the internet because when you Google synonyms for a word, it's easy to get sucked into the internet entertainment rabbit hole. So instead, use a physical book to remain disciplined and on task. I got my synonym finder at a used bookstore for $1. Synonyms are important because even though words might mean the same thing, they often have different emotions attached to them. That's why synonym finders can be so useful when you're revising for your mood. So, how do you create mood in your scenes? Share your tips in the comments below. And for more videos on mood and emotion, word choice, and other aspects of writing, subscribe to Ignited Ink Writing, a channel dedicated to helping authors like you transform your writing so it lingers with your readers, because writing that lingers gets remembered and recommended to others. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. To find out more about me, go to www.ignitedinkwriting.com. There you will also find a worksheet on how to use synonyms and word choice to create your character voice. And now it's your turn to choose words for their emotion, to carefully craft your descriptions and character reactions to build the mood of your scenes and ignite your ink.